Good morning, Red Group. We are on to Chapter 1.2 Notes. This is the second section of our first chapter. We talked a little bit yesterday about how to identify an absolute value the last few days. And the absolute value, remember, is a barred number. Let's say a -2 is actually equal to 2. The bars go away, and we are actually just left with 2. Okay? Today, we're going to start to learn how to add integers. Okay, we don't know what integers are yet, but I'm going to tell you right now. We have 2 new vocabulary terms. Our first one says, blank are 2 numbers that are the same distance from 0 on a number line, not on opposite sides. This is supposed to say but on opposite sides of 0. Okay, your first vocabulary term is opposites. They are called opposites. Opposites are 2 numbers that are the same distance from 0 on a number line, but on opposite sides of 0. So for example, if we have our number line, -2 is 2 away from 0, so 2 is 2. So those are opposites. The blank is the opposite of a number. So the additive inverse is what we call it. The additive inverse, write that down. You may pause the video to write it down if you need. But the additive inverse is the opposite of a number. So the opposite of a -2 would be a 2. So today, again, you're going to be able to learn how to add integers. Integers are any whole number, positive or negative. So a -2, 1, 0, 2, -3, 3, 5, -10, any whole number that is either positive or negative. When you look down here, here are your properties for today. It says adding integers with different signs. If I am adding 2 numbers with different signs, so one is a negative, one is a positive, I need to subtract their lesser absolute value from the greater absolute value. Then use the sign of the integer with the greater absolute value. Now this probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense yet, but what it's asking and what it's saying is if I have a -6 and I'm adding 4, do I have the same signs? Do I have both positive or both negative? Your answer should be no, I don't. I have different signs. That's what different means. Since I have different signs, I'm going to take I'm going to subtract the numbers from each other. So 6 minus 4 is 2. I know it doesn't say minus here, but it means 6 minus 4. Now, which number has the greater value when you ignore the negative sign? You will say that the -6 is greater. So, -2, it takes the sign of the negative. Now, we know that -6 is not greater than 4. If I compared the two of them, they are not greater than 4. However, 6 is greater than 4, and we are looking at the absolute value, and that's what we did yesterday. Okay? Now, this is super tricky stuff. This is not easy, and it can be very, very challenging. However, I will allow you to use a calculator. If you need a calculator, you may use it. Just so you know, though, that you need to understand why this works. Okay? The additive inverse property says the sum of an integer and its opposite is equal to 0. So if I have a -3 plus 3, we know that -3 and 3 are opposites of each other. Because they are opposites of each other, we know they will just equal 0. It's as if we were on our number line, which I have showed you before. If we have a number line, and I start at -3, and I go 3, I add 3 more, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Look where I end up, back at 0. That 0 is why this property works. So make sure you understand that. We have a few examples here. So we have a -2 plus 2. based on the information we just did, this additive inverse property, we know that a negative 2 plus 2 is going to give us 0. Okay, then if you have a negative 2, say you're in debt $2 and you add $2 more, you're back at 0. I always love to use integers as money. Would I rather be negative $4 in debt or have $6? That's how you can compare your negatives and positives, by thinking about it as money. Now, number 2, it's a negative 4 plus 6. If I used this strategy and I took 6 minus 4, I would get 2. Then I look at the absolute values of these. Is 4 or 6 bigger? Well, 6. And is 6 positive or negative? It's positive. So our answer is positive. Okay, good. The next one, we have 10 plus negative 15. Again, use your calculator. There's no reason you can't use your calculator here. So you could put that into your calculator. Just so you know, your calculator has a negative sign. It's down by the 0 if you can't find it. Okay, it's down at the bottom. So I'm going to use this strategy again. I'm going to take the absolute values of these two numbers and I'm going to go ahead and do the subtracting. I have different signs. So 15 minus 10 is equal to 5. Then I'm going to look which which number has a greater absolute value, 10 or 15. You should say 15. So if it's 15, then I know that my answer is going to be negative. So my answer would be negative 5. Now this one's a little bit different. I have a negative plus a negative. If I am adding two negatives together, it just goes farther down negative. For example, up here, if I had a negative 3 and I added a negative 2, I'm going farther down into the negatives. My number should get larger into the negatives, continuing going left on the number line. So a negative 8 plus a negative 12, we know 12 plus 8 is 20, so our answer would be negative 20. Check it on the calculator if you need. It's okay to use your calculator. Your bonus problem, the problem I want you to do to make sure that we're listening to the whole video, is going to be a negative 10 plus negative 11. I would like you to do this example on your paper, please. You may pause this video and take the time to do that. So hopefully you have paused the video, you did this problem, you could have done it on your calculator or added them up on paper, and that would either way would be fine. But hopefully you did that, and we're going to go ahead and move on to example 2. Example 2 says, what is the balance of your bank account after the following transactions? If you started with $100. Whoa, if you started with $100. That is super important. I need to underline that. Okay. What is balance? Balance, what does balance mean when it comes to money? Balance means what you started with or what you ended with. Balance is how much you have. So if you started with $100, I started with $100 here. Now let's say I went grocery shopping and I spent $30 at the grocery shopping. What would I have? 100 minus 30, well, that would equal 70. Hey, look it. I went babysitting because I just spent money and I need to earn some money back. So I went and babysat this weekend and I made $50. So 70 plus your 50 would equal 120. Good. Next, I had a car payment, those darn car payments. The car payment was $100. So I need to take $100 out of my 120. So I have 120 minus my $100. That would give me, you can do it on your calculator, $20 left. So I have a $20 balance. Okay, very good. Now, I would like you to make sure you finish the problem in example 1. Make sure that it's done. Please raise your hand so I know that you have completed this video and I can give you your points for your notes, and make sure I clarify any directions. Make sure you begin on your homework while you're waiting. Nice job today.